Thank you for joining us for a healthy start to home cooking and for Course 1, Kitchen Essentials. I'm Leigh White, Senior Director of Marketing and Communications with Kindred Healthcare.
And I'm Tuyen. I'm a registered dietitian and I'm a manager of nutrition services purchasing for Kindred Healthcare.
Great. We're here today to share with you some tips on setting up a productive home kitchen so that you can do some more home cooking. Tuyen, can you share with us some of the benefits of eating at home?
Sure. There's definitely some good benefits for eating at home. First, the benefit is healthiness. When you cook at home, you can control the ingredients that you buy and prepare, such as fats and sodium, where if you go out, you can't control that. So your meals are, depending on what you pick, is going to be healthier at home. The second thing is your budget. The Consumer Price Index has shown that food costs has increased, and food costs for eating away from out in the restaurant has increased 2.3%. Versus buying grocery, the food has increased 1.2%. So it's definitely more expensive to go and eat out versus buying groceries and eating at home. And then the other benefits is really the social aspect of eating. Eating is social anyways, but when you have people, your friends and your family come over and you can cook and everybody likes to mingle around the kitchen and counters and so it's very social and you can really build some long-lasting relationships.
So. Great, you're right. I mean, eating out, definitely, you cannot control what you're putting in your body. So we want to make sure that we're having a good impact on our body over time. So can you tell us a little bit about the daily recommendations from the American Heart Association for the servings that we should intake?
The American Heart Association does have some recommendations, and we'll post the link on our screen for you so that you can have the reference. But basically, and these recommendations are general recommendations. When it comes to the individual person, it really depends on your age, if you're a man or a female, your activity level. So then that varies as far as what your specific recommendations are. But these are general recommendations for the general public. And for the general public, grains, the American Heart Association recommends 6 to 8 servings per day. And a serving could be like 1 slice of bread, a dry 1 ounce of cereal. Then for your vegetables, 4 to 5 servings per day. And a serving size would be half a cup of cooked vegetable or 1 cup of dry vegetable or raw vegetables, I'm sorry. And then for your fruits, again, 4 to 5 servings of fruits a day. And again, it could be like a medium apple or half a cup of fruit, okay? And then, you have your fats, your milk group. You want the low-fat milk group and about 2 to 3 servings a day, and a serving of milk would be 1 cup. Okay, and then your meat group or your meat alternatives. Ideally, the recommendation is less than 6 ounces per day. The typical American, we eat too much meat. You can go out to a restaurant and you can have a 12-ounce steak. Very easy. So that well exceeds our recommendation of less than 6 ounces a day. And just to give you an idea, the average palm size is about 3 ounces. So that would be like a 3-ounce portion of meat. So you can have 3 ounces at lunch and 3 ounces at dinner, and you would satisfy your meat or meat alternative groups. And then fats and oils, these are added fats and oils, and that would be 2 to 3 servings per day, and that's the oil that you would just add into your food or fats. Like a teaspoon of margarine, for example, would be the fats and oils is what I'm talking about.
And what about sugars? I know I have a sweet tooth. How many of those should I be getting in my diet?
And we can have sugars, but the recommendation is really less than 5 or less per serving per week. And some people can have 5 servings per day. And we're talking about added sugars. Sugar packets, jams or jelly, those are added sugars. And a serving size really is a tablespoon of jam or jelly or, a tablespoon of sugar. So it adds up quickly.
It sure does. I'm going to have to watch my cookie intake from now on. Now that we know what we should eat, let's talk about what we need in our homes to be able to prepare those items.
Great. And these are just the basic kitchen essentials that you would need. We don't need to spend a whole lot of money, and you don't need to have matching pots and pans and things like that. As you can see here, there's not a lot of matching items, but where you do want to spend your money for your kitchen equipment would be your pots and pans. And the reason is that if you buy thinner aluminum types of pots and pans, they're gonna warp. They're going to, the chlorine water actually ruins the aluminum metal in your pots and pans. And so you want to spend your money on thicker, thicker quality metals, pots and pans. And here you have your 8-quart, and then you have your 4 and 2-quart saucepans, obviously for sauces. Your basic skillet nonstick, and then a lot of people, they swear by their skillet iron skillet. And one tip about the skillet, the iron skillet, is that you never want to wash it with soap and water. You want it, as you can see here, it is seasoned. And so when you cook in it, then you just want to boil some water in it and to get the food and everything out. And then after that, just wipe it out, and then just use cooking spray and just spray it, and that seasons the pan. And you just leave it like that. Okay. So that's where you want to spend your money in good quality kitchen equipment, and then the rest of the items, it varies. You don't really have to spend that much money. So, but one other thing is your knives. You want a good quality knife too, because dull knives are obviously not great to have.
Probably hazardous.
Yes, exactly. But a good quality knife, you can see here, the blade goes all the way through the handle, as in this example, and so you know that that's a good quality knife. Where if you see a blade that is separate from the handle, with the handle being 2 pieces, then that's a lower quality knife. Okay, but this is basically your chef's knife, and then you have your serrated knife for your breads, and then just your basic paring knife for your fruits and vegetables.
Okay, and obviously if you have some knives, you need something to cut on. So tell us about these cutting boards you have here.
Yes, people wonder all the time, should they have wood versus plastic cutting boards? And really, you can have both. So the plastic cutting boards, they're less porous. They become porous because you cut on them, but otherwise they're less porous than the wood. And so I would use the plastic cutting board for your meats and meat alternatives, if you want to say, because they're less porous. And then your wood cutting board, I would use that for breads and fruits and vegetables. And you don't want to cross-contaminate, meaning cut your meat on your wood and vice versa, because that would be cross-contamination.
Great. And what other utensils might we need in the kitchen as well?
All right, and these are really a basic mixing and equipment that's going to help you prepare the food. You have here your basic wooden spoons. Those are cheap and simple, and the rest are just your ladles and your slotted spoons. And I would say that you want to have a plastic spatula so that you don't scrape your skillet. Okay, and then just your basic whisk and tongs. And you definitely want to have your silicone or your plastic spatulas here, especially when you're mixing cake batter or something like that, and you want, they help to get everything out so that you don't leave any excess behind. So you definitely need that plastic or rubber spatulas for
and to follow some recipes, we might need some measuring devices, right?
Definitely. You have your measuring spoons and your measuring cups, and then your liquid measuring cup. And this is for liquid, and these would be for your dry. And you definitely need dry and liquid because the weight and the quantity would be different. So be sure that you have both. You have your basic grater here. One thing I do want to mention though is your measuring bowls. You never want to have a plastic measuring bowl, especially for baking. The cake or the batter does not do well in the plastic, so you want to always use glass or metal. Okay, and then your basic colander.
Okay, great.
And of course, everybody knows their pots and pan holders you don't want to get burnt or anything like that.
Safety in the kitchen is very important.
Definitely.
So now that we know what we need to have in the kitchen, let's talk about how we can prepare something that would be both good for our waistline and good for our pocketbook.
Excellent. So, you know, cooking at home it can be very simple and easy. I have this quick recipe here from the American Heart Association. It's called creamy herb salad dressing, and it can replace your typical ranch dressing. Okay, and it's very easy. You only have here, we have a 3/4 cup of cottage cheese, non-fat. Then you have half a cup of low-fat buttermilk. And then here we just cut up about 3 tablespoons of chives. You can use different herbs of choice, whatever herbs you want to use, parsley or so on. But it's very basic. 3 simple, easy ingredients to buy that you can typically have at home. And then you pour it in, and then you just pulsate it for a little bit, and then you have a very simple dressing, and much healthier too, because you've controlled your ingredients. Your typical pre-made ranch dressing is very high in sodium, where, as you can see here, we didn't add any sodium. So the sodium is just basically in your buttermilk and just naturally a little bit in your cottage cheese, but it's very, the nutritional content of your pre-made is a lot healthier for sure.
Great, and you talk about this as being a great substitute for our typical ranch dressing. What are some other substitutes we could make to make things a little healthier in the kitchen?
Yes, I would recommend eggs. So for eggs, the yolk is where the cholesterol is at, and so you can buy liquid eggs, and they have those in the grocery store in little cartons. And the liquid eggs are basically made of egg whites. They do have, it depends on what you buy, but you want to look for the egg white liquid eggs in the carton. And that's where the yolk has been removed and there's no cholesterol in there. And then the other areas, or the other thing too is, if you're going to crack an egg for, it depends on the recipe. If you're going to crack an egg, just remove the yolk from the crack and just take the egg whites. Okay. The other thing I would recommend would be your meats. Those can be a little bit higher in calories and higher in fats. So you want to choose the right cuts of meats. So for example, if you go out to a restaurant or if you buy your meats, you want to choose the loin cuts of meats. Loins or round will be the leaner cuts of meats, where, most typical people would, some people will eat ribeyes. That's going to be a fatter, much fattier cut of meat. So anything that has loin or round, those words in there, will be a leaner cut of meat for you, and I would choose that. And also, along the line of meat would be your poultry, white versus your dark meat. The white breast is going to be a leaner cut versus the dark meat. So, and then don't forget to remove the fat from the skin. If you remove the skin, you'll remove some of the fat.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you so much for those tips, Tuyen, and thank you for spending some time with us today, everyone. And please be sure to join us next month when we talk about some more cooking basics and learn about how to properly use a knife.